You've been blaming your discipline for a problem your zip code created. You wake up early, you track your habits, you read the right books, you run the better strategy, and the needle barely moves. So you assume you need to grind harder, optimize deeper, become a slightly more perfect version of yourself. By the end of this, you'll see why that whole loop has been quietly lying to you. Here's the thing nobody tells you when you're the most driven person in a small room. Being the most driven person in a small room is the trap. Picture two people with identical talent, identical work ethic, identical IQ. One spends 3 years building in a town of 40,000. The other spends 3 years building in a city where the coffee shop next to them is full of people doing the exact same thing. One notch better. Same effort. After 3 years, they're not even close. And the gap has almost nothing to do with who tried harder. So what actually separates them? Density. The concentration of hard problems worth solving, of people operating one level above you, of competitors close enough that standing still means falling behind. That's the variable you've been ignoring while you fine-tune your morning routine. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Let me show you how the loop forms, because it's sneaky. You hit a ceiling, revenue flatlines, skill stops compounding, the projects stop getting more interesting. Your instinct, the ambitious person's instinct, is to look inward. Maybe I'm too inconsistent. Maybe my system is weak. Maybe I need a better framework. So you tighten the screws, you add a habit, cut a distraction, buy the course. For a few weeks, it feels like progress, because effort always feels like progress. But you're turning a dial that's already maxed out. Discipline is a multiplier on your environment's raw material. Multiply a rich environment by your effort, and you get compounding. Multiply a thin 1 by that same effort, and you get a slightly more disciplined version of stuck. That's the part that stings. Your self-improvement was real. It just had nothing left to bite into. Think about how you actually leveled up at anything in your life. It wasn't a book. It was proximity. The first time you sat next to someone genuinely better than you, watched how they thought, how fast they moved, how they guarded their energy. Even their eating windows were deliberate. What they refused to tolerate in their own work, you absorbed more in a month than a year of solo grinding gave you. I started keeping a fast timer on Temper. Link in the description around that time, just to log when ketosis kicked in, because proximity made me care about inputs I used to ignore. You got surrounded, and the surroundings did the teaching. Density does 3 things. Willpower can only fake. It raises the ceiling of problems you're even exposed to. In a thin market, the hardest problem available to you might be moderately hard. You can become the best in the world at solving moderately hard problems and still stay invisible. Because the market that pays for greatness lives where the great problems are. It also puts people one level above you within arm's reach. Real people, in your messages at the same event, whose standard becomes your new baseline by sheer exposure. You start to find your old good enough embarrassing. That embarrassment is the most useful feeling you'll ever rent, and it forces iteration speed. When 10 other people are chasing the same opening, 6 lazy months will sink you. The pressure compresses your learning curve. What feels like stress is actually tuition. Think about a guy I'll call Marcus. He spent 4 years freelancing from his hometown. Technically excellent. Charging local rates, the best designer anyone there had ever met. Then, he spent a single summer crashing in a city where his whole craft lived. He didn't get better at design that summer. He already had the hands. He just discovered, sitting in those rooms, that the work he thought was elite was the floor. Within a year, his rates quadrupled. You probably know your own version of Marcus. Maybe you're scared you're him. And the cruel mechanics of it, you can't see your own ceiling from underneath. When you're the strongest in the room, every signal tells you you're winning. Clients praise you, peers ask your advice, the local scene treats you like a standard. All of it confirms a story that's quietly capping your life. Praise from below feels identical to praise from above. The difference is what it costs you to ignore the second kind. Now, the obvious pushback. But I know people who made it from nowhere. The internet flattened everything. Geography is dead. I want to take that seriously because it's the strongest version of the counter-argument. And it's half right. The internet did move some of the density online. A kid in a tiny town can now sit in the same Discord, the same comment section, the same repository as the best people in their field. That's real, and it's the biggest gift your generation got. But here's where the dream gets oversold. Most people physically stuck in a thin place stay thin in the mind too. They join the server and lurk. They follow the great accounts and build nothing in public. They consume the proximity instead of stepping into it. Online density is available, but it's opt-in, and almost nobody opts in all the way. The ones who break out treated a screen like a doorway and actually walked through it. So the real question was never small town or big city. The real question is sharper. How concentrated is the field of people, problems, and pressure that you actually touch every single week? Run that audit, honestly. Look at your last month. Who did you talk to that operated above your level? Which problems did you wrestle with that genuinely scared you? How many times did competition force you to move faster than comfortable? If the answers come up thin, your environment is thin, and 1,000 cold showers won't change that number. Here's what this reframe hands back to you though. Freedom. Because if the constraint were your discipline, you'd be sentenced to a lifetime of squeezing a little more out of a body and mind already running hot. That's exhausting and it never ends. But density is something you can engineer. You can move, you can travel to where your field gathers and shake hands. You can talk your way into the room where the level is higher. You can build the thing in public so the better people come to you. Density bends to deliberate action in a way your willpower, already near its ceiling, simply can't match. I won't pretend this is free. This is the honest part most motivation skips. Raising your density usually means trading comfort you've already earned. The respect you have in your small pond, the ease of being the smartest in the room, the cheaper rent, the familiar faces. You might have to set those down to walk into a place where you're suddenly the least impressive person there. That demotion is the price. For the few who pay it, it's the cheapest deal they'll ever make. Watch what happens to someone the moment they raise their density. They move to the city, or join the serious cohort, or finally start shipping where sharp people can see it. Within months, people swear they've transformed. More focused, more ambitious, sharper taste. They got no personality transplant. They changed the room, and the room rewrote them. The same mechanism runs in reverse, quietly, and this is the one to fear. Stay too long in a place where you're the ceiling, and you slowly recalibrate down. Your sense of what's possible shrinks to match what's around you. Your standards soften because nothing in the environment punishes softness. You miss it happening the way you miss a room going dark at dusk. One day, you realize your ambition has quietly resized itself to fit the space you gave it. That's the real cost of optimizing inside a capped system. You don't just stop growing. You forget what growth even felt like. And the loop defends itself, which is the diabolical part. The thinner your environment, the more your every win tells you to stay. You're respected here. You're comfortable here. Leaving means starting over as a nobody, and your brain treats that like a threat to survival. So the very success your environment hands you becomes the rope that keeps you tied to it. The people who escape feel that pull just as hard. They walk into the discomfort anyway, because they've learned to trust the math over the feeling. So let me hand you the actual move, because reframes are useless without one. Stop asking, how do I become more disciplined? and start asking, how do I get closer to people running one level above me? Those are different questions with completely different answers. The first ships you to another productivity video. The second ships you to a flight, a city, an event, a project built in public, a message to someone whose work intimidates you. Keep your habits. Discipline is how you survive the higher density room once you're in it. It's the thing that lets you hang when the pace doubles. But discipline is the engine, and density is the road. A perfect engine on a dead-end street still takes you nowhere worth going. And notice the freedom hidden in all of this. You are whole. You were never the problem. You've been running a beautifully tuned engine in a parking lot and calling it a personal failing. That exhaustion you feel is the friction of pushing against a ceiling that effort was never built to lift. So here's your challenge, and it's concrete. In the next 90 days, do one thing that raises the concentration of talent, difficulty, and pressure you personally touch. Move, if you can. If you can't move, find where your people gather online and stop lurking. Build something where they'll see it. Get into one room, physical or digital, where you are clearly the weakest person present. Then stay long enough to stop feeling embarrassed. That discomfort is the sensation of your ceiling lifting. You spent years polishing the engine. Go find the open road, point it somewhere steep, and let the climb do to you what no morning routine ever could.